where you get to hold more, we get to do more, we get to have more responsibility and still be thriving in it, not drowning in it. Are we doing this because we've always done it that way and it's the best way to do it? Or is there a much better way to be doing this? Welcome back to the Power of Personal Branding and Manifestation podcast with your host. It is me, Malika. Happy Tuesday. I'm so glad that you are tuning into this episode. This is going to be so juicy and so good. Let's chat. The foundation to this, to being the one leading your business and setting the tone for it, and it literally follows you. It comes down to not being reactive. Let's say you're seeing something that's, oh my God, this is what's working right now. This is what's popular right now. This is what the content that is getting liked. All of these things that pulls you out of your certainty is kind of like just reactive. It's very reactive to the environment, to what's working, what's changing, no, whatever. So all of these things, they create a bunch of inconsistency. And so this is where the reactive versus leading is really setting up the foundation, because any action that can compound comes from leading your business in the right way and the direction that actually serves you, not reacting. A lot of people say that they are self-led, but then they react a lot to, for example, oh my God, this is the kind of content that's working right now. Oh my God, this is what's popular right now. Oh my God, this is what this person in my field is doing, so I'm gonna do like them. And it's like all these things that are super like reactive, right? And so it's creating a bunch of inconsistency in the results that they're getting. It's making it much harder for them to actually differentiate themselves in the market. It's making it so that like all the action they're taking, they don't really compound on themselves. Every action that we take, it's always tied to an identity. I like to think of what is the identity that is living within me no matter the circumstances. Like no matter what is happening on the outside, what's the result that I'm getting, how much I'm making, whatever is happening in my life, like my personal life, like what is the identity that is living within me no matter what? That creates a solid foundation for your business before it can even like serve you the best. That identity, that is the identity that drives all of the action, and that's able to also sustain what you get and sustain the action that you're taking. For example, for me, when I am doing Pilates, I'm not just doing a Pilates workout. Like I am a Pilates princess that's like killing it and I feel like a hot bitch. When I'm creating content, I'm not just thinking I am posting a piece of content for my business. I'm also thinking I am a content creator. And so all of these things also make it so that your identity gets fortified. Then the stronger the foundation is for everything else that happens around me to ripple from that identity, to give me what I want from that identity, for my result to show up from that identity. For example, even for the Pilates, let's say that I was just thinking, oh my God, I'm just going to do this Pilates workout. Like I probably would have not been able to create that much consistency within my workouts and being able to now have added a lot of weight when I do my Pilates workout, because my identity wasn't just, oh my God, I'm going to do a workout, because that's just an action. No, I'm like, the identity behind that is I'm the girl who like takes her matcha, go to Pilates class and like crush the workout. I feel so hot. Like that is the identity, and that's why I'm able to sustain and be so consistent with it. And that is the same when it comes to your business. It also comes from adding pressure on your identity. And it's super easy to look at what that identity kind of needs to change when you look at all of your I am the kind of person who statement. Like I am the kind of person who blank, and whatever it is that like cannot go with you onto this new stage that like you want. And most of the time it's like you also have to ask yourself, like, what bad thing would happen if I were to get what I say I want? And this is like super counterintuitive, but it really helps because you get to see how you are maybe putting brakes in your own way regardless of what you say you want. And sometimes we do that. Sometimes we're like, oh my God, I really want this, but it's like, okay, but what does that cost you? Does it mean that I will have to actually sustain a higher level of success? Does it actually mean that I will have to sustain more? Does it mean that I will have more responsibility? Does it mean that I will have to be more responsible with my bank account? Does it mean that I will have to cut off some people? Maybe what cannot come with you is like waking up in the morning and looking at your phone first thing in the morning, or responding to an email of a client at like 11 p.m. when you're literally in bed and about to go sleep. Like that I used to do that. That was me, okay? Maybe it's going back home and watching a Netflix show instead of like editing all of your content that you need to post. Maybe it's actually spending 10K on your next investment so that you have these high leverage skills that gets you to that level that you are actually claiming, right? And so it's about looking at like what is actually the cost of that, or what is the cost of like having what you say you want that you don't need to recover from, and kind of like play this yo-yo game of like, oh wow, but then after you take a step back because oh my god, like it's like too much and you can't sustain it. Like a lot of people can relate to, which is like playing yo-yo with yourself, which is basically you expand, you're hitting your goals and you're very busy and everything, like lots of clients, then I would have to slow down and like catch my breath. The thing is, you cannot really expand when you are constantly playing yo-yo, like when you are constantly needing to recover from the expansion that you have. And so like the goal is to expand and being able to sustain it. And that happens when you are doing things that genuinely serves you and your best interest and your business the most. Not so much about like, oh my God, what have I always done that's been working? It's more about like, what will be working the best in the long run, and what do I have to kind of like sacrifice in order to get that? A lot of business takes over people's life instead of like being able to integrate your life into your business. And I see this a lot with entrepreneurs who kind of like pride themselves in being like so busy all the time and like, oh my God, I never have enough time, or I don't even attend to like birthday parties. That is basically self-abandonment, but dressed up as a badge of honor. And it's not sexy. It's not sexy. It's like it honestly exposes you to be a better version of yourself in every aspect of your life, not just one. Yes, of course you want to be a better entrepreneur and business owner and everything, but also all of the other aspects of your life. Also, the way that you do one thing is the way that you will do everything. And so if you are not really good at being present when you are with other people, when you are taking time for yourself, you will not be also very good at being present when you are in your business. Like, you know what I mean? And so it really, really stretches you and forces you to look at what are the areas that like you actually genuinely need to get better at, and be way more aware with your time, with your presence, with your energy, and what are the areas that like you need to actually become a better version of yourself in, not just one, because they all grow together simultaneously. And I know that we love to like kind of like put them into different categories, but that's not really how it works genuinely. Like they kind of all they are all connected, and that will mean being disciplined and doing things that maybe it's not the vibe right now, doing the things that maybe it's not super fun, but that you know that is building your long-term vision. Going back to what I always mention, which is your 80-20. What is 20% of the action that brings in 80% of the result? And most of the time, sometimes you can have like a calendar super packed, super full, super busy, but then there's just like 10% of that that's actually giving you what you want, like building your long-term vision, or like actually bring in all the result. And like that little thing, that's the thing that you need to use for your high leverage skill, and to actually have that expansion grow and have it serve you the best, right? So your high leverage skills are like your messaging, posting your content, podcasting. If you have an offer, it's like launching your masterclass. It's not so much how much is on my list, how much am I getting done, how busy am I? More so, how much can I master what brings me 80% of the result that I want. And when it comes to leveraging these high level skills, this is truly what I call, your feminine mastery. Like what the things that you are able to master are the things that are going to bring you the most amount of result, not what is on your calendar, what is moving the needle, what is actually bringing in more weight in terms of what you're doing, rather than like how much you can do. right? And so it's about like that feminine mastery of like, for example, your personal brand, your content, your messaging, your marketing, the value of your time, your priorities. Again, like same thing. It usually comes down to the same thing, the same aspect, which is like your priority, your times, getting a lot better and a lot more discerning with your energy, your time, with what you prioritize and what you are kind of like cultivating your life around. Because like I said, again, like self-abandonment is not a badge of honor. It's not hot. It's not like something to be proud of. Like, it's a sign that like you need to change. Like, you need to change something. You need to be a better version of yourself. And being a better version of yourself doesn't equal abandoning yourself or never saying no to clients or just, you know, being available for everyone 24/7. That's not what it means, right? And having what you're doing right now to build your long-term vision and not just be sustaining the short-term vision, right? Not just sustaining, but thinking about like, what would that look like to expand? If you want more, if you want to expand, like, what would that look like to expand? And is the way that I'm operating now actually sustainable for me to expand more? Or am I constantly just going to play yo-yo with myself? Because that's not what you want. Having your time be way more valuable, having the right priorities in place, because every single action that we take is always reinforcing an identity. And sometimes it's either we need to get rid of an action or we need to replace an action from a space of like a different identity that like you're stepping into, because your identity is what stick. And once it sticks, then it starts to carry you and everything ripples out of that. It ripples outward from, you know, you are the main asset and then everything else ripples out of that. Most of the time we think, oh my God, discipline is like when you're very consistent with something, but discipline is actually just being able to do something that perhaps it does not really feel good, or maybe it's like really hard to do and you're still doing it. That is discipline. Like, you know, discipline is not always fun. To be a lot easier to do once you are not self-abandoning. Once you are not, for example, like just being so busy because you believe like that's the thing that you need to be doing. That's the vibe that you need to be giving. Making the adjustment on the identity level and the action level. Also, self-abandoning can also look like you are building and expanding or reaching your goal for you not to feel like a failure, not in order to win. Not in order to be successful. It's like you are doing things in order to not feel like a failure instead of feeling successful. And that used to be me, because I had this like proving complex of wanting to prove. And that was not the vibe. Like, that also does not create a system that serves you, because you, as the main asset, you are always looking to be very reactive. Again, like going back to that like reactiveness of like, oh my God, like I want to prove, instead of like, oh my God, like how can this actually serve me? And be clear that like sometimes like what serves you doesn't directly means, oh my God, like everything feels like amazing and like flowery and everything. Like, that's not always what it means, but it does mean that like this is building your long-term vision, and this makes sense to where you know you are headed, what you actually want, and you are making those decisions from that identity. Perfect example for this. There are so many people that when they are on vacation, they keep saying, oh my God, I would never work on vacation. I would never whatever. And for me, I love it. And so I take advantage of that. Like, I take advantage of like when I travel, when I was in Costa Rica, I would go and I was still working, coaching clients, going on coaching calls, and I was still able to like enjoy my trip because I know that that actually serves me. I'm also able to create a calendar plan so that I can shoot all of my content that I need to shoot when I am on that trip. And like, I know that it will serve me in the long run. I don't really care if I don't look in the moment or I don't look like whatever. I don't care. I know that this is what I want. This is going to build my vision. I know that this is going to benefit my content. And so I'm going to take the content. Like, why the fuck would I not take the content? I'd say that like 99% of the time it comes down to kind of like looking at your calendar and looking at like what's keeping you busy, because sometimes we can have so many things in the calendar, but it's just kind of like sustaining the same level, or it's like playing yo-yo with yourself, like I mentioned before. But that's not the goal. Like the goal is not to play yo-yo with yourself forever. The goal is not to sustain the same level forever. And sometimes you need to, again, like kind of like sacrifice the short-term things for the long term. And usually what that comes down to is going back to the 80-20, having these high leverage skill that you're implementing and that you're utilizing so that you can integrate your business into your life and that you get to have more of what you want and you get to expand every single aspect of your life and not just one aspect. I hope that you absolutely love this episode and that you had so much insight and takeaway from it. If you loved it, make sure to send it to someone, share it on your story, and tag me on Instagram. I am at Malika Birbi. I love to see what you are doing while you're tuning in. I've seen a couple of you now posted on your story, and I always love to see what you're up to, what you're doing while you're tuning in. And of course, I share it on my story. So let me know what was your biggest takeaway from this. And I will meet you back here next week. So stay amazing, okay? Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in, and don't forget to leave your 5-star rate and review on the podcast. I love to know what you guys think of the episodes, and I will meet you here next week.